of this qualifying heat is a real spicy encounter. Robin Norman and Cian Shields. Now this one will be an interesting one because both of these came into the weekend, or certainly went into qualifying, basically as underdogs. Robin Norman, the Swede, because he hadn't done anything in the previous sessions and therefore came straight into qualifying and went to the top of his group. And Cian Shields, because he is a privateer who has done no racing in Europe at all prior to this weekend and has come in and earned the reputation already as the new Flying Scotsman and become an incredible young competitor in the shape of about 24 hours. An amazing youngster, this Cian Shields. We're going to hear this name a lot in the world of motorsport. It's about time we had another Scot in Formula One. It's been too long since David Coulthard retired and Paul Di Resta lost his ride with Force India. Maybe Cian Shields is the next one. You never know. Rimo Kadapik and Jerzy Spinkovic are on the second row of the grid together, the Estonian and the Pole, both of whom have a chance to win here in this heat because obviously both of them have been incredibly quick. Rimo Kadapik, the Estonian in particular, he was fastest in warm-up this morning, so do not count him out. Over one lap, he is particularly quick around here. And then there's Jerzy Spinkovic. He was a little bit quiet yesterday, got some reasonably good lap times in, didn't do too badly, but now, all of a sudden, he's in with a good chance to make some good results come his way. Okay, yes, you could argue he's on the even side of the grid, so that doesn't give him the best of advantages, but he does still have an opportunity to make this race play out his way. So we'll see how it goes. Also in the grid as well, we've got an all-British row 3. We've got Lewis Gilbert and Georgi Dimitrov. And then in the fourth row of the grid, we have Vilgot Edqvist of Sweden and Victor Pardo of Spain. And then we have an all-Spanish row 5 as well in the shape of Lorenzo James Fluschercross and Maxi Meyer. So some good racing around the circuit still to come from the X30 Juniors. After this heat, that will be the last of the X30 Junior races for today. And then there will obviously be more going into tomorrow when the business end of the meeting really kicks off in earnest. We'll have the mini qualifying heat number 3. We'll have the super shifter qualifying heat 3. And then we'll have the seniors heat 9 and heat 10 to finish out the day in what has been a thrilling Saturday here at the Cartodromo Lucas Guerrero here in Valencia. And the action still hasn't finished yet. We've still got plenty of it to serve up, particularly in this heat because we've got at least 12 drivers who have the ability to win the whole event in this one heat alone. Even though we've just been talking about Mari Boyer and Alex Lloyd, who have won everything thus far up until the last heat when Mari Boyer made it a hat-trick, there are still 12 drivers who have the ability to come away with this on the top step of the podium because we've got Robin Norman, the Swede, who runs under a Spanish license, hence why you see a Spanish flag next to his name, but he is actually from Stockholm in Sweden. Alongside him, Cian Shields, the Flying Scotsman, as he's come to be known this weekend. The Estonian, Rimo Kadapik, as we've mentioned. Jerzy Spinkovic alongside him on the second row. Lewis Gilbert and Georgi Dimitrov on the third row. Vilgot Edqvist and Victor Pardo on row 4. Then we have Lorenzo James Fluschercross and Maxi Meyer. And then we have Felix Aparicio Rodriguez and Cesar Gazo on the 6th row of the grid. The Frenchman, Matthew Rees, is there in 7th on the grid in front of Ken Oscar Algra. Ernon Reshepi of Switzerland is there on row 8 alongside Heron Nodini. Eric Alanis Bosch and then Ivan Lomliev. Lola Lavenfoss and Ate Samonatio round out the top 20. Then it's Jules Goujon alongside Matis Malanovskis. And then we have the Norwegian Benjamin Fuglsang alongside William Orton, the Brit. So the drivers getting themselves ready for another day at the office. We're having to put hoods up and coats on as the rain comes back again. It's going to be like this all day long at this rate. But the weather is starting to take a turn for the worse again. But again, it's not going to be wet enough for any of the drivers to consider wet tyres at this point. They've just got to cope with the psychological disadvantage of having rain to cope with spots on the visor. It's that very awkward point when it's not wet and it's not dry. It's somewhere in between, and you've just got to cope with that and hope that you'll be the driver that leads at the end of it all. 5 minutes away from the start of this one. And incredibly tight battles that we have seen over the course of the day thus far. There's definitely going to be more as the day progresses. Don't forget, of course, that this is just the one-off event, a precursor to the full championship of the IAME European Series, which has 4 rounds over the course of the 2018 championship season. And, of course, there's going to be quite a few of those drivers who will be battling for the honours here in the full championship. We go to 4 different locations in the 2018 IAME European Series, and what locations there will be. The first one next month, at the end of the month of March, is Salbris in France. An amazing race circuit, that one. It's one of the old school tracks of Europe. The facilities may not be quite as slick and superior to some of its colleagues, but in terms of a racetrack experience, it really is one of the most spectacular in Europe and a very good highlight on the European karting calendar. Next up after that is one of the feistier circuits on the calendar in Belgium. It is, of course, Marienborg, and we will be going there towards the end of May. Then we'll take a few weeks break, and the third round of the championship will be at the legendary German karting circuit of Wackersdorf for the third round of the championship in July. We're all very keen and excited to be going there again. And then for the fourth and final round of the IAME European Series, we will be travelling to Siete Larghe, which is, of course, the circuit at Castelletto in Italy, in the heart of Ferrari country, and only a stone's throw in the grand scheme of things from Maranello. It is genuinely Ferrari territory and a wonderful part of northern Italy. And we're all looking very forward indeed to going back to that wonderful part of the world. A lot of the drivers here on the grid find Castelletto to be their favourite circuit in the world of the European motor racing scene. Although quite a few of the drivers here on the grid today like this place, in particular some of the Spaniards, but a lot of the mainland Europeans who have come from further afield, from France, from Germany, from Italy, from Portugal, and of course from Scandinavia, really like this circuit as well. Because of the tight technical challenge, the long, fast straights, the long sweeping apexes, it is a difficult circuit, this one, and a very tight battle for all of the drivers to get right. So they're obviously all going to be working very hard to make sure they do a good job. It will be a tough season to start here. The rain is coming down again, I just noticed, so it's not very heavy again, as I stress. But again, it's just going to creep into the minds of a couple of drivers who are not very well prepared for it, because it's been bone dry all weekend. The clouds have not really been gathering until this particular day, and tomorrow I don't think we're predicted any rain at all. So we only had predictions of a 10% chance of rain this morning, but obviously with this being karting, with this being motorsport, and with this being European weather, that prediction is changeable. However, I have to say, I would have liked to have put a bet on the fact that with a 10% chance of rain, it was going to rain today. I might be able to buy my new house if I'd have done that, because that would have been very long odds. However, we have got raindrops around the circuit, and that could spice things up for Robin Norman and Kian Shields on the front row of the grid, for Remo Kadapik and Jerzy Spinkovic on the second row, Gilbert and Dimitrov, Edqvist and Pardo, Flusha Cross and Meyer, Aparicio Rodriguez and Gazo, Rees and Olga, Reshapi and Nureddini, Alanis Bosch and Lomliev, Lovenfoss and Selmanotio, Goujon, Malinovskis, Fugelsang and Orton. 24 drivers bidding for the victory as they are about to be sent out onto the circuit now. And this one is going to be a very entertaining one indeed. Again, it could be a precursor to the final, with Robin Norma, who's been very strong since qualifying yesterday, and Kian Shields, who has been easily the unexpectedly pleasant surprise of the weekend thus far. Though each of these drivers will have an opportunity to go for the victory. And I know that a victory for both Robin and for Kian at this point in the weekend would be an absolutely sensational result, and they would both be absolutely over the moon about it. However, there are 22 other drivers who have a say in the matter, and this will be the first heat that could not be won by either Mari Boyer or Alex Lloyd. We will get a new winner in the X30 junior class from this heat, and there are 22 drivers, all with an equal chance of doing so. I should say 24 drivers, shouldn't I? I apologise. And there they all are. 24 drivers, all with an equal chance of getting their first win of the weekend. We will get a new heat winner in this race, guaranteed, because in the build-up to this one, only Mari Boyer of Spain and Alex Lloyd of Great Britain have taken a heat win in Junior X30. They just raced against each other, which means that the 24 drivers in this heat have not won. So everybody will be bidding to win this one, because it is the race that everyone will want to win. And again, for some drivers, this could be their last. So they've got to be very careful about how they go about it. Particularly in the top end of the grid, it's going to be very spicy. In the tail end of the grid, it could get a little bit desperate towards the end of the 7 laps. But for Robin Norma in pole position and for Cian Shields on the second row, the start is critical. And both of them know it. So Cian Shields will need to be as alongside Robin Norman as is physically possible to be on the run down to the first corner to stand any chance of getting the start right. And even then, you'll still have 22 other drivers to battle against in the hope that one of the two of you will come away with a race victory. But keep an eye on Rimo Kadapik. I've got a little bit of a cheeky suspicion he could be strong in this one. Fastest in the warm-up this morning, don't forget, Rimo Kadapik. Do not count out the Estonian. He will be particularly strong. Jerzy Spinkovic, the pole. Could this be the race where he really streaks through and shows us what he's made of? There is a very good chance of that. But then, of course, there are 2 feisty Brits on the third row as well. Lewis Gilbert for Persistence Racing and Georgi Dimitrov for Fusion. Both of those have a genuinely good chance of doing this, particularly considering that Georgi Dimitrov, on more than one occasion today, has got himself out of a low position off the start into a strong position mid-race. And there is a very feisty driver behind that number 6 kart and that visor. So, we're ready for action. Norman, Shields, Kadapik, Spinkovic, Gilbert, Dimitrov, Edqvist, Pardo, Flushercross, Maya, Aparicio Rodriguez and Gazzo. That's your top 6 rows. One of these guys, one of these 24 will win for the first time. Nobody's won a race yet today. It's a perfect start for the odd side of the grid. It's going to be a tricky one for Cian Shields. I think he'll lose about 3, potentially 4 places trying to come around the outside. That is an incredible start for Georgi Dimitrov. Look at that. Dimitrov has come up into about 4th position. Now he's going to try and get past Gilbert, make that 5th position. Cian Shields is there in about 7th at the moment. It's a tricky start for him on the even side of the grid. But out in front, Robin Norman leads the way. Rimo Kadapik in 2nd place. 3rd position, that looks to me like Vilkert Edqvist has got an incredible start. So Edqvist is through in 3rd place. The Swede trying to make the move on Rimo Kadapik. Robin Norman leads the way for Sweden. 2nd place is Rimo Kadapik of Estonia. Then it's Vilkert Edqvist. Brilliant stuff. And as they come down the straight once again, it looks pretty neat and tidy. Great racing, and there's still plenty to come in this little bit of a spatter of a rain shower. But Rimo Kadapik is definitely putting a bit of a pressure to Robin Norman in the early stages. Vilkert Edqvist is looking strong. Lewis Gilbert's got Georgi Dimitrov trying to come through on the inside line. He is going to commit to it. Georgi Dimitrov through into 4th place. 6th position, that looks like Cian Shields past Victor Pardo. We'll double check on that one. No, he's not quite made the move, so Victor Pardo's still there in 6th place. Then it's Jerzy Spinkovic from Cesar Gazzo and Lorenzo James Flushercross with Maya, Rees, Algra, Lomliev, Alanis Posh and Malanovskis giving chase. So great racing around the circuit, and still it's Robin Norman in front of Rimo Kadapik and Vilkert Edqvist. The battle raging at the front end of the field, but Norman looks really good at the front end of the field. Robin Norman from Stockholm in Sweden is holding on in front of Rimo Kadapik. Great racer this at the front end of the field. He's done very well indeed as Robin Norman, but so too has the man alongside him, the Estonian Rimo Kadapik, trying to come through. Watch out for Vilkert Edqvist. Georgi Dimitrov looks very strong out of the final turn as well. I think they're going to get a move here. Edqvist is going to try and make the move on Kadapik. They bang wheels as they come through, and Dimitrov is going to try and keep that door open and get through into 3rd position. He's done it. Georgi Dimitrov in a 3rd place. Good bit of driving there. Lewis Gilbert hangs on to the tail in 5th position. Up to 6th place now has come Jerzy Spinkovic from Victor Pardo and Cian Shields. What an interesting battle this is turning into now, as up the inside comes Victor Pardo on Jerzy Spinkovic, and they've tangled a little bit. Cian Shields round the outside gets himself up into 7th position. Good bit of driving there from Cian Shields. Good confidence, and completely puts himself back in the mix. Meanwhile, Victor Pardo is having to play defensive to Cesar Gazzo, as in the mix they are still battling away, and Maxi Meyer is trying to come up strong there as well, resisting the temptation from Lorenzo James Flushercross. Georgi Dimitrov, however, looks very strong in behind Vilkert Edqvist, who's now up to 2nd place. Makes the move. Georgi Dimitrov in his 2nd place at the final chicane. Good boy. He moves up and gets himself into 2nd place. Now he has the nerve to signal to Vilkert Edqvist. Come on, work with me. As up the inside of Lewis Gilbert. Back comes Rimo Kadapik into 4th place. Past Gilbert. Next up in the mix in 6th position is Cian Shields. He's coming back into 6th position. He has gone past Jerzy Spinkovic. Then it is the Frenchman, Cesar Gazo, who's come up into 8th place now. Then it is Flushercross, Meyer, Algra, Lomliev, Pardo, Rees, Alanis Bosch, and Malinovskis, who's making great progress up into 16th. And there's an off. That's the 22 who's gone off at turn 3. That is William Orton. Oh, William Orton is out of the race. What a disaster. And William Orton's race, and potentially his weekend as well, has come to a premature end at turn 3. That is a real shame. Well, Will Orton's loss at the moment appears to be Georgi Dimitrov's game for his countrymen. He's there in 2nd place, chasing down Robin Norman. If he could get a victory at this point, Georgi Dimitrov's weekend will be transformed. And he is right on the tail of the Swede at the moment. 3rd position, Rimo Kadapik. Up the inside comes Lewis Gilbert. The Scot for Persistence Motorsport makes his move into 4th position now as he makes the move on Vilgot Edqvist. Edqvist going backwards, having a real struggle now in 5th position. Kian Shields and Jerzy Spinkovic are getting close to him. Meanwhile, it is Lorenzo James Flushercross who's leading Cesar Gazo and the rest of an incredibly long train. That's about 13 karts or so as they battle for position. Moving up into 10th place comes Maxi Meyer. Up into 10th place past Ken Oscar Algra. Then it's Ivan Lomliev, Victor Pardo, Edek Alanis Bosch, Matthew Rees. And then there's Atasama Nautio, Edon Reshepi, and Matis Malinovskis and Lola Lovenfoss, all in that mix as well. A great battle all the way through. Now, Georgi Dimitrov is definitely making inroads into Robin Norman. We've got 2 laps to go, and this is the lap where he's going to want to do something about it, and he's right in the exhaust fumes. Georgi Dimitrov has got a good exit out of the chicane. Surely now this is his moment. Oh, Robin Norman tried to shut the door. Not enough. Georgi Dimitrov is through. Beautiful overtake there from Dimitrov. Absolutely terrific. No hesitation at all. Plenty of conviction from Dimitrov, just decisively decides, this is it, this is my moment. Robin Norman gets him back, Dimitrov gets him back again, and they are squabbling for position. And we got an off at turn 3, that is Atisama Nautio. Nautio goes off there in the chicane. But what a battle this is for the lead. Look at this. Robin Norman coming back at Georgi Dimitrov. Dimitrov going defensive straight away. Rimo Kadapik is on the back of him. And then we've got the chasing cavalry behind, led by Lewis Gilbert and Kian Shields. Then it is Vilgot Edqvist. And at the back of the queue, that looks to me to be still Jerzy Spinkovic, the pole. Side by side. Georgi Dimitrov hanging on in here, and now in comes Rimo Kadapik to move into 2nd position past Robin Norman, and that gets the rest of the field involved. Gilbert's now on the tail. Here we go. One last lap. Gilbert's coming to the far side. This could be the best finish we've had yet. Georgi Dimitrov hanging on to it. Kadapik in 2nd position. Robin Norman in 3rd. 4th is Gilbert. 5th is Kian Shields. 6th is Vilgot Edqvist. And 7th place is still Jerzy Spinkovic. And there's a little bit of a tangle in the mid-pack as Gilbert and Shields try to connect. Now there's an opportunity. All 7 of these battling for the win, and any one of them could do it. Dimitrov, Kadapik, Norman, Gilbert, Shields, Edqvist, Spinkovic. Amazing. And there's a similar battle going on behind for 12th position, but this one is too spicy. We need to keep up with it. As they all drift a little bit wide, there's an opportunity here for 1 or 2 of them to pick up the pieces. Kian Shields has got Edqvist to his right. Edqvist is going to make the move to 5th position, and that's going to allow the door to open for Spinkovic to come through too. Meanwhile, there's a big challenge at the lead from Kadapik to try and get past Georgi Dimitrov, and it's going to be a tough one as Robin Norman gets in the battle there as well, trying to get on the inside of Dimitrov. They're all going to tighten up. The checkered flag's going to come, and it's going to be Dimitrov by a whisker. Dimitrov just gets there in front of Kadapik. Georgi Dimitrov has done it. Beautiful win for Georgi Dimitrov in an amazing battle. Rimo Kadapik 2nd. Robin Norman of Sweden is 3rd. Lewis Gilbert, Jerzy Spinkovic, Vilgot Edqvist and Kian Shields. And they came across the line separated by 0.6 of a second. All 7 of them. B-E-A. Beautiful. Oh, man. What a race. What a race. Fantastic. Right the way to the death. Can we have a final like that one, please? Wow, that's definitely one of the races of the day, without a shadow of a doubt. And Georgi Dimitrov can look the world in the face forever and say, do you remember that heat at the IAME Winter Cup in 2018? Won that one. Oh, yeah. Georgi Dimitrov wins it in style from Rimo Kadapik by 0.057. Robin Norman 3rd in the number 50. Lewis Gilbert in 4th place from Jerzy Spinkovic, Vilgot Edqvist and Kian Shields. And it was even closer than I can say it. Lorenzo James Flushercross beat the rest of them home in 8th place from Maxi Meyer and Cesar Gazo rounding